Greetings. So this video is going to be about Jeep Cherokees, or the XJs, and engine mounts. As you can see here, my old ones that I already have out are thrashed. This one still held on a little bit, but if you look, you can see there's a crack right where my thumb is, that actually a couple of cracks that we're getting ready to go. Now, these are the OEM style, the original equipment manufacturer. They do all right if you're just doing like highway driving, grocery getter, or whatever. But if you do any actual four-wheeling, these are not good enough. This is the third set I've had on my Jeep in about 30,000 miles. It just thrashes the shit out of them. And the last time it thrashed them, I didn't catch it because this was the driver's side mount, and it's hard to inspect without removing your whole air cleaner and the entire box. So it's normally this one that goes out anyways, the passenger side. I mean, I know these are identical, so I mean, you can't tell the difference. But this last time that they went out, I was out in the middle of nowhere, and it allowed enough engine movement that it knocked the shit out of my oil filter, and let's just say I don't have to change my oil right now. It's a good thing I caught that before my engine seized. And I had to have a friend go up and get an oil filter. There was enough vibration that it loosened the, here, let me show you. It loosened the low side on my AC compressor and leaked out all of my refrigerant, which was kind of a pain in the ass, because if you can see, it says R12 on there somewhere. Yeah, it says R12 refrigerant. And if you know anything about R12 refrigerant, it's the old style refrigerant. They don't manufacture it anymore, to my knowledge. Maybe they do, but not in the US. And I found enough R12 to do this job online for about 130 bucks, and realistically, that's pretty damn cheap. So I just did the R134A conversion, evacuated the system, got that all fixed. Also, you can see a repair on my vacuum line from the low side hose rubbing against it, so you can see how much things were moving back and forth. And also, the entire engine compartment was just covered in oil. I've taken a high pressure washer to it, but I need to get the underside too. You can see the new oil filter. I've removed the oil filter adapter on this because it was leaking, and I hated dicking with it. But so, what are some options? I'm sick of this happening, and I'm sick of having to repair things because the engine mounts go out because I like to four-wheel. Here's what I decided to go with. Found these for about 70 bucks. These are Daystar engine mounts. They're polyurethane. As you can see, way beefier than these things. Now, the problem with the polyurethane, there's two problems. One is, if I come to the instructions, it says, on some models of Jeep's vehicles, we have found that the factory does not machine the block mounting fork deep enough for the mount to fit, so you will have to grind the fork so the mount will fit. Turns out a 92 Jeep XJ is one such model. So I'm going to have to take the mounts off of the engine block and take them and grind them until everything fits. Pain in the ass, but it is what it is. The other issue with these is these do not allow a lot of engine movement, which translates to vibrations are going to be coming into the frame, and you'll feel it more, especially at idle. Some people complain, some people don't, but I don't like having to do a couple $100 of repair just because a $11 part went out. So, yeah, these are about 70 bucks. If I just put these on the first time, it would have saved me a whole lot of hassle and money. I'd still have R12 in my AC, but it does blow colder than it did before, because I probably needed to service it, and bad things were going to happen anyways. So I'm going to get underneath the Jeep, and I'm going to get really dirty because it spilled oil underneath everywhere. At least my arms will get dirty, and I'm going to take the mounts off, what it calls the forks, and I'll get back after that. You do have to grind on the driver's side. The passenger side will just fit right in. So if you look what we've got right here, I've got the mount, and I've already got the bracket out. It's 3 bolts to get the bracket off of the engine. It's just bolted into the bosses. So if you look, there's this ridge. I don't know if you can see that. There's this ridge right here that it needs to be ground back until this can fit all the way into where the holes line up. As you can see, there's no way in hell I'm going to get the holes to line up. So, hopefully, I don't need to go get new grinding wheels because I can't find my new ones. But I'm going to grind this pretty much all the way back to here until everything just fits right in. This will be fun. And there you have it. Not the prettiest grinding job I've ever done, but it was kind of a pain in the ass to fit the grinder in there. Eventually had to put a cutoff wheel in anyways because with the grinding wheel, there just wasn't quite enough room. And it's just a 4.5-inch Milwaukee angle grinder. So that you can get it done with that. It works. It all fits now. I'm going to get this back on. I need to find some thread locker or Loctite for the bolts that go into the engine boss that hold this on, because I really don't want that coming loose. Okay, so I have it most of the way in. As you can see, there's a stud on the bottom of these, and you need to get the stud over there to line up. But I'm going to wait until I have the other side ready to go because this is higher than it actually needs to be, and I'm going to have to push and pull on the engine and as I raise it and lower it to get all the holes to line up. And once you get everything kind of there, you put your nuts on and your bolts, but you don't crank them down until everything is settled into place and you've let the engine all the way down, and then you can crank it down. But you don't want to put force on stuff that doesn't need force put on it until it's already there. So I'll get the other side on. Okay, so everything down there looks good and like it's settled, so I'm going to let I've got all the bolts started, I just haven't cranked anything down yet. So I'm just going to very carefully let weight off and see how it turns out. Okay. Yeah, that looks like that's sitting flat. That looks like that's sitting flat and it's lined up. Let me get under here. I'll show you what happens when your oil filter dumps all of your oil out. Yeah, it looks like this. It's disgusting. Okay, it's all back together. Transmission mount is bolted back up. Everything's back together. And as you can see, it'll move a little bit when I rev the engine, but there's very little play in the engine right now. It moves the whole Jeep instead of the engine, just except for maybe a very little bit. So I need to go get cleaned up before I go anywhere. I'm kind of nasty after working on that oily ass Jeep, so I'll do that and then I'll go for a test drive. I'll tell you how bad the vibrations are, either in another short segment of video that I'll tack onto the end of this or just in the description. Okay, so I've just been on a bit of a test drive. With these polyurethane engine mounts, you do get more vibration that comes in. No doubt about that. Let me turn the AC down a little bit. Definitely get more vibration that comes in. You feel it in the steering wheel and the gas pedal. But, you know, I mean, there have been a lot of times where I run a chainsaw all day, and this is absolutely nothing compared to that. It's hardly even a minor annoyance, in my opinion, at least to me. Another thing that I did notice is that I'm getting more like engine and transmission noise coming into the cab of the vehicle. But you know, this is a 92 Jeep Cherokee. It squeaks and rattles anyways. That's not a factor. I mean, maybe if I were driving a brand new JK or some shit, it would make a difference, but it's not. As for the AC, this is the first time I've had it on any highway conditions to see how cold it blows. As I'm moving continuously at a decent rate of speed to get enough air flowing to suck all the heat out. And it's about 90 degrees out, 90 or 91, thereabouts. And when I was moving 55 for several minutes, the AC was blowing at just above 40 degrees, like 42 or some shit. So that means I'm getting 45 to 50 degrees of temperature differential, which is pretty good. That means I do all right in Phoenix. The other issue is, like I say, it just lets a little more noise in, but I've been thrashing these engine mounts left and right, and this last time it just took a bunch of other shit with it. So I'd rather put up with a little bit of extra noise in the cab. There you can hear it, I'm at low RPMs. I'd rather put up with a little extra noise in the cab and a little bit of vibration in the steering wheel and the gas pedal than do that again. But anyways, I hope this informs your opinion if you're going to go to thinking about going to polyurethane engine mounts. I obviously haven't tested them off-road yet, but just looking at how they were built compared to the other ones, they ought to be way stronger. Have a nice day.